Rams-Eagles is a really interesting game this week. It's the second time since their matchup in the Super Bowl that Fangio and McVay are going head-to-head, and overall, even outside of that, there are a lot of different angles to it. When you look at the first time these two teams matched up, neither one of them was at full strength. The biggest net difference, though, was, in my opinion, Rob Havenstein missing for the Rams. I'm sure most people's takeaways from the first game is that the Rams' run defense could not stop the Eagles for the life of them. The Eagles' offensive line was overpowering them all day, and even when lanes weren't there, Saquon was still able to create. Now, while I don't disagree with that sentiment, they couldn't stop them, I think it's only right that we acknowledge the Eagles couldn't really stop the Rams either. I know it isn't exactly portrayed through the box score or even advanced metrics, so what exactly am I talking about? For a large part of the year, this Rams offensive line has been dealing with a lot of holes. One of these missing pieces being Rob Havenstein, who has been in and out of the lineup all year. Now, sure, that's only one lineman, but I cannot overstate the importance that he is going to play in this Sunday's game. In the first matchup, the Rams went a staggering 0 for 8 on third down, a number that may make you ask the question, why would any defense be scared of them, let alone the best in football? Well, let's add some context to these stops, because most of the time the Rams either had something or they made unprecedented mistakes. The first couple drives were really good, just stops for the Eagles. The Rams were marching, but then Kyron gets the football. Isaiah Rodgers puts his helmet on the ball, forces a fumble. It's something you don't see out of Kyron often, but it's still a great play by Isaiah Rodgers. Next drive, we just have another great play by someone in the Eagles secondary. DeJean is lined up one-on-one against Cooper Kupp, who's going to run a quick out. Does DeJean hold slightly? Maybe. But this is a route Cooper Kupp has made a living off of, and for him to get in there and force an incompletion is very impressive. Now, there was a point to this. They all weren't just going to be fantastic plays from the Eagles defense, but as you saw on this next third down, Brandon Graham is going to quickly beat 71, getting to Matthew Stafford for a sack. What's important here is 71 is where Rob Havenstein usually plays. Taking this into account, backside we have Cooper Kupp on a seam clearing out, and then Demarcus Robinson on a 15-yard out. Let's quickly ignore the actual outcome of the play and look at the routes developing. Demarcus Robinson at his break is going to have separation. This is a throw Stafford's made hundreds of times and he can make in his sleep. If Brandon Graham does not get home, this is an easy first down. I mean, from the back view especially, you can tell that is exactly where he wanted to go with this football, and he had it. Unfortunately, Brandon Graham had it as well. Although it's not all about whether or not they can get the third down conversions, sometimes it's about keeping yourself out of third and long and not taking negative plays on second down. That's exactly what this is, a 2nd and 5. The Eagles are going to come out and cover one. Against it, the Rams are going to have Cooper Kupp run a crossing pattern with Puka on a 15-yard dig in behind. Specifically watching Puka on this, I'm sure some will say this is tight coverage, but this is a ball we have seen Matthew Stafford and Puka once again complete hundreds of times, even during this game. If Nakobe Dean does not get home in the split second, this is going to more than likely be a first down and a 15-yard gain. Instead, they are left in a situation where they have to roll over and give up the drive. Backed up again from a holding call to make this a 3rd and 13, the Eagles come out in too high but shift into either quarters or cover 6. Against it, Puka is going to run a deep corner to try and clear out the linebacker, while Kupp fills in underneath on a 15-yard dig. You play it, once again, Stafford is pressured by Milton Williams in a one-on-one. Can't get rid of this ball to Cooper Kupp, who just has a ridiculous amount of space to work with here in the middle of the field and can more than likely dive forward for the first. I want to emphasize, this isn't me saying that the Rams just got unlucky, but merely if the offensive line shows up, they have plays on the field. There are opportunities for them to push the ball. The Eagles may struggle to put them in these third and longs where they can pin their ears back and Matthew Stafford has to wait for these long developing routes downfield. Another play where you be the judge, Puka bottom of the screen, he's going to run a hitch against Isaiah Rodgers, 3rd and 9, makes the catch, gets the first. Play gets called back due to offensive PI. Ticky-tack, will this get called in the playoffs? Probably not. But I mean, what are you going to do? Puts them in another 3rd and extremely long where Stafford has to drop back and wait for these extremely long developing routes to come through. He's sacked again, ball is loose, the drive is over. This isn't the same Eagles pass rush either though. In recent weeks they have been much better. Nolan Smith has taken over on the edge, playing better football than Brandon Graham ever was this year prior to injury. Just last week in the wild card, he put on an absolute clinic against one of the best right tackles in the league, sacking Jordan Love twice. If the Eagles can pressure Matthew Stafford and put this offense in uncomfortable positions, they can repeat their same performance from Week 12. If they can't though, and Havenstein is able to keep Nolan in check, Kyron and the interior are able to hold up blitz protection for the Rams' quick game, then they are more than talented enough to put up an insurmountable amount of points. This is not a Packers offense led by Jordan Love that will get greedy and impatient. Matthew Stafford, McVay, Puka, and Kupp are all more than fine with beating you with 1,000 cuts. In fact, I'd argue they prefer it. The Rams cut through the Eagles time and time again on these bootlegs with design dump-offs to Puka, Kupp, or even Higbee on the back end. Sure, there were some points in which the Eagles were able to shut it down, like earlier when Divisional was on Kupp in a short yardage situation, forced a 4th down. But most of the time, it was the entire defense shifting with the motion, allowing Stafford to dump off, and here Parkinson able to go for an easy 10 yards. Allowing the Rams to get in rhythm is simply not something you want to do. They struggle at points in the red zone, but when they get going, there are not many offenses better than them. Although you could still argue that it doesn't matter how many points the Rams put up if they can't keep Saquon in check. Now, I might have an unpopular opinion on the matter. The Rams don't need to shut down Saquon or even keep him under a certain number. They simply cannot allow the backbreaking 50-plus yard house calls, which I know is easier said than done, but if there is a commitment to containing him instead of stuffing him, he may get 5 to 10 yard gains, but those only get you to the red zone. Inside the 10 Week 12, the Rams did a absolutely fantastic job of completely negating him, holding his 4 carries to an average of 2 yards, none of them resulting in scores. Not being able to stuff the ball in with Saquon forces the Eagles to put the game in the hands of Jalen Hurts, which is no disrespect to him, but I think every team in the league would prefer the latter. Jalen Hurts has not been efficient as a passer in the red zone this year, and with the way Kellen Moore had this offense looking last week, it is even more worrisome. Last week, the Eagles went 1 for 4 in the area, as Jalen went 1 for 4 through the air. Mind you, that one completion was a touchdown, but you gotta be realistic. Jalen is not going to get a 6-second pocket versus this Rams pass rush. This is the first play of the other 3, and I'm assuming we were supposed to get mirrored routes here. The ball was never going to the top of the screen. But if I had to guess, Dotson runs the wrong route because instead of running this streak and clearing out for Devontae, he runs the same exact route, and this is just clustered. Mind you, it's not Jalen's fault, but it's a fault of the Eagles' pass game and has been for the last half year. The next play, we're going to get Saquon on a wheel route manned up with a linebacker. Not every throw is going to be 5 yards of separation. There is going to be timing. Right here, Saquon has this. Put this in the back left-hand corner of the end zone. Give Saquon a chance. Because guess what? There is nothing else here. But instead, Jalen panics, runs out of the pocket, and gets absolutely nothing out of it. And then the last play, they're just trying to run a screen and cannot beat the blitz at all. This offense just looked like a disaster last week, and the Rams, if they can take advantage of it, will have a legitimate shot to win this game. Now, the last part of the game I want to discuss is surrounding Jalen, because stopping him as a passer is only half the battle. The threat he poses on the ground, one might argue, is larger than through the air, and something the Rams struggled mightily with in their first matchup. While the box score may say he only rushed for 39 yards, it goes beyond that. On crucial downs, his ability to extend the play provided backbreaker after backbreaker, nullifying any chance the Rams had of a comeback. Going into this week, this needs to be a focal point if the Rams want any chance of pulling this one out. They cannot allow Jalen's legs to beat them on crucial downs. They will lose the game off of it. It is that simple. 3rd and 3 early in the game, the Rams have a chance for a huge stop. What happens? Jared Verse loses containment because he gets pushed to the ground. Jalen rolls out left, runs for an easy 1st down. It's just these things. Again, 3rd and 5 early in the game. Jared Verse loses containment on the outside. Now, does Jalen Hurts have Saquon here? Yes, but it's the fact that he's able to just take off and run for it so easily. Because even if he puts them within 1 yard, you know exactly what's coming. And it's going to be even worse for morale, worse for the overall outcome of the game than anything that could possibly have occurred if you had just stayed home. Mind you, this is just their Week 12 matchup. There's been a lot that's happened since then, but I just wanted to go through and give my thoughts on what would carry over and what may not. With all of that said, I can't firmly say I have a side that I'm leaning. It felt like last matchup, McVay figured out Fangio a bit after making a complete 180 to his offense post the Super Bowl. What does concern me a lot is the coaching disparity between Chris Shula and Kellen Moore if Kellen Moore does come out slow again. Once again, this matchup is going to be awesome. I can't wait. If you're new here and would like to sub, I'd appreciate it. It would mean a lot. With that said, I'll see you guys next time.